Hey, what's happening? This is Keith again. Welcome back to Keith Speaks, where I watch the pattern, not the performance. Today, I'll be talking about something that should make your BS detector go off the charts. Corporations suddenly finding their moral compass on ICE enforcement. But here's the thing, the pattern shows it's not about morality, it's about money, power, and who they can afford to ignore. Let me break this down for you. Once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. Let's start with Sam Altman and OpenAI speaking out against ICE tactics. Sounds noble, right? Tech billionaire standing up for immigrant rights. But watch the pattern. OpenAI needs something. They need massive amounts of power, and I'm not talking about political power. I'm talking about electrical power. Data centers running AI models consume energy like you wouldn't believe. And where do they need to build this infrastructure? Blue states, California specifically. Now, who approves these permits? Who grants access to that power grid? State and local governments, governors, mayors, the same officials who are pushing back against federal ICE overreach. So when Sam Altman speaks out, ask yourself, is this principle or is this preserving relationships he needs for business operations? You can't build your AI empire if California won't let you plug in. The timing tells you everything. This isn't coincidence. This isn't conscience. It's calculation. Now let's talk about Target. They just released a statement along with about 60 other companies expressing concerns about ICE enforcement tactics. When did this moral clarity arrive? I mean, after the Minneapolis headquarters basically got shut down, after African American consumers launched a boycott that hit their revenue, after workers didn't show up, and when people don't go out and buy from their stores. Minneapolis is Target's hub. That is not just symbolic, that's operational. When your headquarters can't function and your customers stop buying, suddenly you find your voice. But where was Target before? When ICE was conducting raids that didn't affect their operations. When families were being separated and it wasn't costing them money. Silence. This is the pattern. Corporations speak when it costs them not to speak, not before. And here's what really exposes the game. Those weren't the first people shot or killed by federal agents during immigration enforcement. They just happened to be white citizens. Let me say that again because this is the part that reveals everything. When U.S. citizens have been detained before, when they've been wrongfully deported before, when they've been caught up in ICE sweeps before, they were brown and black citizens, and corporate America was quiet. There are documented cases of American citizens born here, papers in order, being deported. But they weren't white, so it didn't generate this level of response. No corporate headquarters shutdowns, no flood of statements from CEOs. Now, white citizens are getting caught in the net, and suddenly it's a crisis worth risking federal relationships over. I'm not saying those white citizens don't matter. They absolutely do. I'm just saying watch the pattern of who matters enough to move institutions. That timing isn't coincidence. That's a revelation of priorities. When the system can operate without consequence against certain communities, it will. It's only when it starts touching populations with more institutional protection that we see institutional response. This ties into what I've talked about before, the $10 billion going to private prison companies to build detention facilities. If deportation was the goal, you don't need that infrastructure. You need buses and planes. But if long-term detention is the goal, if creating a captive labor force under the 13th Amendment exception is the goal, and that exception being except as punishment for crime, then you need exactly what they're building. And corporations know this. They benefit from it. Cheap labor, captive workforce, no negotiating power. That's the business model. So when they speak out now, ask yourself, are they opposing the system or just concerned about which populations are getting swept up? Are they standing on principle or repositioning for the next election cycle and the optics that come with it? Remember, order out of chaos. Create the crisis, let it escalate until people beg for the solution, then implement the control mechanism you wanted all along. Corporations play both sides, benefit from the system while positioning themselves as concerned when public opinion shifts. Now look, I'm not telling you what to think, I'm just telling you to watch the pattern. When did they speak? Who are they protecting? Who do they need? What do they need from the governments they're aligning with? What does their silence before tell you about their statement now? This is what Keith Speaks is about. I air out the BS. We don't fall for performance when the pattern shows calculation. If you're seeing this, if you're connecting these dots, drop a comment. Let me know what patterns you're seeing. And if this is your first time here, subscribe to Keith Speaks, because I'm going to keep watching the pattern while everyone else watches the show. Stay aware, stay sharp, and remember, different grift, different day, but always the same pattern. I'm Keith, and I hope to see you soon.